a steady wish. Trump 2024. Donald Trump announced that he'd be running for president 2024. Now, I want to get into what I guess that kind of means, what he should do if he wants to accomplish that task, and among other things. So, first, what that means is that the news media, the media cycle, will be dominated by a lot of Trump stories, which can get interesting. You can already see. Let's go over here. Simple news search, and you have a bunch. I just searched Trump, but you can see CNN's already going after his speech, which, there's a lot in his speech that I disagreed with. Oh, look, a man told baby looks like Trump on ultrasound pic. Now we can't see it. That's funny. A man's baby looks like Trump on the ultrasound pic. Kind of. But the point is that it'll be very entertaining. Very entertaining couple of years here. Oops. That didn't, whoops. Wrong button. Now, in Trump's speech, I watched it all. What Trump does, and I think many people know this, but he capitalizes on the people's want for patriotism. Essentially, he capitalizes on what is known as patriotism, and that's like, he does this, and it can clearly be seen in the "Make America Great Again" slogan. So, "Make America Great Again" makes you think of it. It capitalizes on nostalgia, because for every generation, for a long time, with the exception of a few, I guess, harder points in America's future, but every generation we've lost more and more freedoms, and we have gained as a world. Like, we have gained technology that has made life easier, but we've lost freedoms, I would say, since the inception of the United States of America. And so when a politician such as, Trump, for example, uses this kind of hearkening back to the golden days, it's always the "Make America Great." Okay, so "Make America Great Again." Is he talking? Is he referring to when America was founded? I don't think so, but I don't think it matters what he is referring to. It's what the people, his supporters, are visualizing when he says that. And they're visualizing most likely their childhood or maybe a generation before them. And that's what he capitalizes on. That's how he gets his support. Because obviously the generation before you had it better in terms of freedom. And they, when you think about it, the next generation is going to look back at our current state of affairs and is going to be like, wow, they had it so great. If we don't move in the right direction, we're basically moving in the wrong direction. And Trump is saying, through Make America Great Again, or at least the people are getting the message that we have to go back to a previous time because we're moving in the wrong direction, which we are moving in the wrong direction as far as personal liberties go. Now, I think the problem, and this gets into a deeper problem, it's not necessarily Trump related, but there's a deeper problem there that we have progressed in this wrong direction, I suppose. Put it in quotes because who knows what the right direction is really, but we have gone down this path, maybe that's better phrasing, since the beginning of the country, in part because there was this thought that was maybe not there at the very beginning, but eventually it became kind of a prominent thought, and it is still a thought today, that the creation of the United States of America was the end, basically. It solved all our problems, or it could be, and it was never supposed to be. It was a great, I should say, a great step forward, perhaps, but it wasn't the end of suffering. It wasn't the perfect government. It wasn't the perfect system. It might have been better than other systems in the past, but it was just a step on the path towards realizing for lack of better words, the perfect society. And this patriotism is capitalized. Donald Trump capitalizes on it, which actually Reagan. It's funny because Reagan did kind of the same thing, and so it's like a capitalization on. It's like capturing that from Reagan's time, which was he was looking backwards too. I mean, like, oh, we had it better back then. Like, let's make America strong and great and powerful and all this. But that is why people support Trump. I mean, there's a lot of his supporters that don't agree with everything he says, and there are a lot of things that he says that are alarming, questionable. A lot of things that he's done that are alarming and questionable. He's done some good things. He's done some bad things. He is not I guess he's not a champion or the ideal champion of liberty, I guess is the way I'll put it. Um, he could have pardoned Assange and Snowden. He didn't. He excuse me. He was responsible for the banning of bump stocks, which, if you don't know what a bump stock is, it's essentially a stock for a gun, a firearm that I guess allows you to shoot faster by using the recoil from the gun. And whatever your views on that are, and if you go by the Constitution, shall not be infringed. So, another thing that he wants to do, or that he did mention in his speech, was wants to go after drug dealers. Now, drugs are bad, in my personal opinion. But a drug dealer, this is what a government does. So a drug dealer sells drugs to willing parties. It's a transaction between two parties based on consent. If a drug dealer is forcing people to take drugs, okay, you can step in there. When force is exerted upon another, and in a way that is not in a like defensive manner. If it's an aggressive manner, force is exerted on you, infringing your own personal liberties, then that's where the government should step in. But if both parties are willingly consenting and they're adults, say they have to be adults because we've basically determined children can't consent. So if both parties are consenting adults, then there should be no government intervention there. Now, if the argument is that, well, drug dealers give these drugs to, or supply people with drugs, and then those people on drugs commit crimes, well, you have to address that as a separate issue. I mean, if somebody commits a crime, whether they're on drugs or not, and by crime I mean like infringing on another's life, liberty, or property, then that should be taken care of. That should be addressed. Now, if they're not committing the crime, or I should say this, whether the drugs influence the committing of the crime or not is irrelevant to the crime committed. So, like, if somebody assaults somebody because they're on drugs or alcohol, because that can happen on alcohol, it's not, you treat the crime separately from the influence of a substance, essentially. Or you should. No, is that the case? I don't know. Is that gonna be the case? I don't know. Because if you look at it, okay, so somebody could get drunk, punch somebody. That's assault. Now, should we go after I guess in this case, the drug dealer in that sense, equivalent would be wherever they got the alcohol, the liquor store or the bar. No, we shouldn't go after that because it was a consenting, to an arrangement between two consenting adults, transaction, essentially. The same thing goes for gun control issues that they raise. They want to address, I guess in essence, it's the desire to address the problem through force, and these are problems that are in society can't be solved through forcing people or taking away rights, or they have to be addressed in my opinion, on a moral and maybe even spiritual level, if that's the right word. But I kind of went off on a tangent there. So, what Trump needs to do moving forward? I mean, there are many more problems that I won't even get into with what he's done wrong, and if I did get into those, people that watch this would be like, that support Trump would be like, well, he did this, this, and this, right? And it's like, yeah, he wasn't as a president, it wasn't the worst. I mean, he did with the whole stimulus and all that. That was pretty bad. Then we had to print a bunch of money to cover that. But I mean the Federal Reserve, and that is kind of responsible for some of probably the inflation that we're seeing now. It at least kickstarted it, because there's a delay in the effects of that, but the effects of when the inflation happens and then when we feel it. But yes, he did do some good things, he did do some bad things. But whatever, moving forward, what he needs to do, if he wants to gain the support of the people, again, because I think a lot of people voted for Trump because they just wanted somebody to go in and shake things up. I mean, you hear that with the drain the swamp phrase, which they were chanting in his speech that he gave, announcing his re-election, or his intent on running for president in 2024. They wanted somebody outside the system. They saw Trump as a candidate that they could just throw in there and maybe fix the system, maybe at least shake things up. Um, and I think he needs to. I think that's what he kind of capitalizes on, but he needs to, if he really wants to deliver on that idea, he needs to first acknowledge his mistakes that he made. And because there's a lot of people that probably did support him but don't because of some of those mistakes that are big ones, that are, whether or not they're highly impactful is up for debate, but they at least are big. They tell a lot about what he's all about. So first he needs to acknowledge those. One of the ones that he goes on about all the time is the Operation Warp Speed, and how that was so great, and how the Trump, he called, I don't know if he still calls it this, but the Trump vaccine, and wants to take credit for that. And I mean, he's been booed about that, bragging about that. People don't like that, and I think among his supporters, they don't like that. So he especially with other options for a Republican candidate. The biggest one being Ron DeSantis of Florida. He needs to. Trump would need to address those concerns, because people will jump ship. If he does get reelected, which is I guess we'll see what happens. The good news is that he's entertaining. It really is entertaining, both in a good and a bad way. But I think, going back to the reason that people elected him in the first place, they needed somebody to shake things up, and now I think we need, and I say we because Democrats and Republicans. Trump ran as a Republican, got in there, and shook things up, and I think now the country as a whole needs to, I guess, the populist movement, because Trump is part of was part of building and invigorating the populist right. But I think, as a populist whole, left and right, I think we need to come together, and now that things are kind of shook up, we need to really start strategically and carefully making changes. You can't go in there with a wrecking ball again. So I think it goes to my point where Trump needs to not be a wrecking ball, which I know that's why people liked him. I'm not saying he shouldn't say things that say that, or bring light to things that like he's done in the past. Should definitely do that, but it should be a little more calculated, a little more, I guess, careful. Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. Who knows what'll happen? I mean, it'll be fun or interesting to see who, if Trump does win the nomination and runs as president. It'll be interesting to see who runs against him on the Democrat ticket. But again, I mean, there's so much I could get into with Trump and how he's not really a candidate for. He may be better than other options, but he's not a candidate for individual liberty. Maybe he'll change. Maybe, who knows? I think, one last note. I think the reason behind Trump's running is that he wants to be the savior. He wants to save the country, and whether he wants to save the country because of his own pride and ego, or whether he wants to save it because he really cares, I don't think is all that relevant. I think that he wants to, he doesn't want to hand off the torch to somebody else necessarily, or he isn't quite ready. I mean, he's getting up there in age. But he isn't quite, how old is he? He was born in 1946, so he isn't quite ready to do that yet, maybe. And who knows if that's gonna be a bad thing or not. But the bad thing about that is that he people that do that, or people that have that mentality, have a huge ego. And they're not open to ideas as much. And I know that Trump is in some cases open to ideas, and in some cases he's maybe he's a little too open to ideas in some cases and not in others. But you have to be careful with the lack of, or I guess which guiding principles you have. You have to be careful about that. So, there are other candidates that may be better, and I'm not just talking on the Republican side. I'm talking about on all sides, all parties. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be pretty interesting. Pretty interesting to see what happens. People might go for it. People might not. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. Ideally, if people got behind him, then Trump would do everything that to increase individual liberty, but I don't see that happening. So it could be worse though. We could have two, or we could have a somebody that's running or is planning to run like Trump, but not entertaining. I mean, that's something you could say about Biden too. Biden's pretty entertaining as far as the words he comes up with, and it's and the outright like lies that he comes up with. That's what politics is now. It's just entertainment, I guess, as far as not much we can do about it. I guess I don't want to leave you on a black pill there. I guess the white pill would be maybe things will get so shaken up through all this. I know I'm trying to white pill you, but and I'm just thinking, you know what, we'll leave it at a black pill. So, but I'll give you another one. Things might get shook up, but this is ideal. This is another point that I probably should have made earlier, but this is an ideal situation for the establishment because they have Trump back. And they can use Trump to sow division between the people, particularly the populist movement, and that way they can maintain control. That's what they do. That's the whole two-party system, Republicans, Democrats. We're not going to make any progress as a nation, as individuals yearning for liberty, fighting for liberty. We're not going to make any progress until we look at candidates and start supporting people, not just candidates, but people in general that are pro-liberty and they actually put their money where their mouth is. They are actually doing something about it. We have to have liberty as our guiding principle. But maybe there's the white pill. If we continue to fight for liberty, and that means liberty of all, you can't just have liberty for one group of people. You have to fight for everybody's liberty. Then we may be able to save not only the country, but the world. In the sense that if everybody's liberty was protected, then we wouldn't be going to war, starting foreign wars. If we prioritize, I guess maybe not even protected, because if it was prioritized, if you prioritize the liberty of others just as much as yourself, then there'd be very little conflict in the world, and lots of prosperity. Alright, I kind of rambled on, but thanks for watching. See you next time.